Supreme Rising, Supreme Rising. How everybody doing this morning? This morning, Grand Rising. Ooh, ooh. We're gonna get into it. Just let me upload something real quick. All right, so I can add that on whenever I get ready. I am Naga, and today's topic is the notice is simple because the world promotes the opposite. Everything in the world shows you the value is outside of you, your concepts of whatever reality, even your concepts on spirituality is outside of you. To get a better definition, you would have to go within yourself. But the actions of people state to the value outside of them. This is how you get a contingency to understand who's not really connected to your best interest because of their outside connection. Isn't this called worldliness? Like, to keep reiterating on the values of what it means to subsequently become secure within oneself, it speaks to self control. I've said this a million and one times. I'm going to keep saying it. And divine awareness allows you to see the energy promoting the characteristics that one may deal with that you don't see that react out of your control, thus helping you to procure a loss of self control. Now, when you're living in this world, loss of self control can look like anything. Majority of the time, we look at the loss of self control as the value of erraticness or someone getting in an argumentative state, stuff of this value. You also lose control when you're not able to um, control your own thoughts. Like if someone's inputting a thought into your mind and you go with that thought, there's no aggression with it. It's just the fact that you chose another thought over your first thought. That's losing self control. When you don't have a standpoint to stand on, and yourself is being controlled outside of the value of what your universal purpose is, that is loss of self control, right? There are so many attributes that explain the value of what self control truly is, but we kind of put it on a particular pedestal and explain it for those attributes when in fact self control has everything to do with your mind, body, and soul and how you procure the level of what you speak. The words you find, they're not familiar with everybody else. So then you see someone losing self control because they may garner the value of what they're listening to. This is self control in its highest value. The divine is allowing you to have a comprehension of these particular understandings. So therefore, self control is intimate when you're dealing with a particular fraction of yourself. You're trying to complete the value of knowing oneself in whole. You'll never know everything, you know what I'm saying? But you'll be capable of knowing things. Most people aren't capable of knowing certain things. This is a fact. Most people aren't just, you don't have the capability, right, of just knowing certain things. And this is the blockages of self belief and self reverence. You know what I mean? Like everybody always wants to lean on their own particular way of looking at things. What divine is going to show you. Divine is going to show you what how you're supposed to accept that. And then on top of the value is like the icing on the cake. So after you get the icing or you get the conductivity from the divine awareness on the circumstance, then you can speak on it. That's that clearness part. You know what I'm saying? That's where you get the clarity. Most people don't see that as such. You know what I'm saying? Like understand these values of how they're supposed to be work. You have to complete your job. You know what I'm saying? You have to keep working. Like it's not a particular understanding to it. Like I felt some type of way the other day, right? You know what I mean? Because things happen and shit. And I felt some type of way, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna move like this. And I went somewhere, and the way I moved indirectly to the way I would normally move. It just made a statement. You know what I'm saying? Like so, the energies procure different frequencies, and I started to notice this value, and I'm like, well, you know what? If I can put it in, I also can take it out. That's you protecting your energy or whatever that means. If you put it in, you can take it out. You got to understand what that means as far as you giving of yourself to a particular value. Like, what's more important to you is the amount of how you can spread yourself or the value of what you spread yourself to. These things become important, and then you prioritize what you can't prioritize anything that's not under your feet. You know what I'm saying? What comes from you? Like that's like saying this oak tree that puts out acorns, right, or whatever, or this pine tree that drops pine cones, uh, is fertilizing the blueberry tree. You know what I'm saying? Like it's fertilizing the blueberry tree, and it's like, why would that be? Why would that? You know what I'm saying? Like then the pine cones can't grow because they're falling under the tree, right? So they're like, why we can't grow? Because we're fertilizing the blueberry tree. Like what kind of shit is that? That don't even make no sense. You know what I'm saying? Like divine doesn't even make an order of reality that way. So why would you not procure the highest value of comprehension for the seeds that you produce? You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the point. Who wouldn't want to do that? You know what I'm saying? Like this is your natural order of standpoint at the end of the day. Like divine is not gonna ask you what you do for the outside value. That's like later questions. The first thing, if it was questions, it's gonna be was your intentions pure? And were they in line with the contract that you came into life to deal with? Like it's not gonna have anything to do with anything else because your choices what lead you off of your path, right? So if you're on the right path and you're doing what you're supposed to do with what's in front of you, right? Then that speaks to what? What's right in front of you. That speaks to what? You know what I'm saying? Like not you maneuvering and displacing values because there's going to be another question. Everything is available. Your higher self watches everything about you. Like it's never a time that you're separate from being recorded in existence. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason for penance because particularly you do shit. So then when you do shit, you gotta go fix it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's just the reality. You know what I'm saying? You can't break the water pipes and expect the water to fix itself when it's like shooting all over the house. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just not gonna fix itself. So you fix it by mending wounds and personal values, depending on what that means for you and your circumstance. You know what I'm saying? So that's a form of penance. But before you actually do that, you pray for the guidance to go forth that. That's like asking for a chauffeur. You know what I'm saying? Like divine, I'm about to go do this XYZ. You know what I'm saying? To make this XYZ right, I need you to guide me. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you gotta mean that shit sincerely. You can't just be saying it because it sound good. You ain't gonna make it nowhere like that. Like your energy gotta be purified in certain frequencies. People don't even realize this shit. You'll never notice how you be around places and then you never be around particular places, but you frequent certain energies. That's because your energy frequency starts to align up with the regular things of your normality. So your normality becomes your reality because that's where your frequency can be prevalent at in those circumstances. And then you'll be bewildered why certain things are so close to you or not far from a facility, but you never frequent that particular part that's next because your frequency is in the line. It's in a whole row, and that's how you get locked in and trapped into certain particulars. When you're dealing with divine frequency, the light hit everywhere. The light everywhere, yo. The light everywhere, like all over the planet. The light everywhere. Might pop up in the Solomon Islands or something. They pop over there in the Solomon Islands smoking with the giants. Like, don't get me started, yo. Don't get me started. Like these values is crazy. Like people take things in our literal. Yeah, I just created that in our literal. You know what I'm saying? In and out of literality. You know what I'm saying? Like that's a word I created in our literal. You know what I'm saying? Like because you can't like I don't be understanding the concepts of man's procure of the particular reality, but I understand the concepts of divine's understanding because that's naturality. So I'm sitting there like that ain't even. I mean, that's based on the value of satisfying subsequent values of other people, but that doesn't speak to naturality. You know what I'm saying? So this how I be looking at shit like you gotta line up with the divine. I ain't gotta line up with you. You know what I'm saying? Like so for the most part, like even when I'm in society and I'm thinking about particular things, it's truly on the value that you have to line up with divinity. That's how I measure my thought pattern. You know what I'm saying? That's how I measure my thought pattern to the ratio of naturality of things. You know what I'm saying? Like why not? Everybody should think like that. You know what I'm saying? Like otherwise you have things coming in creating other laws and values that now you follow like the snake oil man. Like, oh, the snake oil man came over here and he said, I'll give you all these bottles of this if you let me get that and this, that, and the third. Now the snake oil man own everything you got. You know what I'm saying? Like and you got to listen to the snake oil man if you want some more of this or want some more of that. You know what I'm saying? Like the shit starts to become crazy. You know what I mean? Like it's the false energy of the reality of what you think you subsequently need. Like and I understand what they mean. A lot of things happen by choice. It's because you believe the particular value of certain things. You know what I'm saying? Well, belief is always the subsequent factor out of the understanding of your natural order of things. It's like the property. So you sitting somewhere and then something new come out of somewhere and automatically you think that new that's not normal to your actual way of breathing, atmosphere, and circumstance. You feel like you got to have a part of that. No, that's the depravity. That's the part that allows you to get trapped in that mentality aspect. That's where that reality comes from. Whether or not most people are aware of this value, this is how you even become like what is the twinkle in the eye to be attracted to value, where your imagination of memory gives you particular understanding, and that particular understanding allows what you to have value. You know what I'm saying? So then you start seeing certain colors and things on different shit that you pull into your life because it's value to your being. This is you putting value on things outside of you instead of keeping that value in yourself. It's not for your life to be plain, it's for you to experience it, but you don't have to obtain everything. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole point to the retrospect. But it's simple when you dealing in the natural orders of the retrospect of just moving for the particular wants and needs of the growth aspect, and your experience is different because you're not going to hold on to these things. You're just going to go through, and you're gonna pass that experience on to other people. You're going to tell the story. You're gonna bring something tangible out of that story. You're going to show this energy of you putting this particular work in, which is going to give other people of or your creations ladders to stand on so they can move forward in life with that understanding. This is how we're supposed to do everything. And if it's strengthened under the guise of the divine retrospect, then the foundation's not going to fall. We only go through failure because we keep believing that we can do this without the divine. Like it ain't gonna never work. You got to connect to the universal aspect of all things. This is why we're here. Everything else is given to you by other fractions, and no matter how hard you try to lie, skim, slim, bury this, bury that, cover this over, band-aid this, band-aid that, put some iodine on whatever, like all this bullshit that people keep doing is only going to keep bringing you back to the understanding that you got to deal with this. You got to stay connected in that particular value. No matter how hard you don't want to try that value, that's the reason why you exist. Your insides, your below is divine. That's the light life. It's the life that's given to you. If a body dies, that 21 grams of light is gonna come out of you. You're gonna piss and shit right after that. Your body gonna sink in, your cheeks gonna sink in, you're gone. Like your body is inanimate at that fact. So what does it mean? Because anybody who's ever went to a funeral and they look at the body, what do you say? That's not my people. Because that's not the what you value. You value the light in that individual. And when that light is gone, then you understand the real feeling of loss. That's the only reason when you really feel that loss is when that light is going out of that individual, because that's what you truly value. Why do you truly value the light? Because that's what's truly inside of you. That's what divine gave everybody. That's the whole point to everything. We don't damage the light. This is why we're supposed to move in a particular understanding, but to constantly keep repeating it and regurgitating just for somebody to say, well, you know what, I don't want to understand that value. That's that particular energy that has to go through those tests. So that means divine may have to strip you of certain things and bring you back just so that's the only thing you know and love. You know what I'm saying? Who knows what happens? So everything that we deal with is connected to divine. You know what I'm saying? No matter what the value is, everything is divine. You know what I'm saying? So having the respect and the conducive understanding to try to find out how to connect to the divine understanding is your basic job. That's your basic makeup every day of moving. So therefore, if you're walking around and you got like a anger spurt with you, you going in the stores and you cursing out clerks and shit, and you can't conduct yourself around people without having like a crazy attitude. You know what I'm saying? Like something's wrong with you. You know what I'm saying? Like I used to experience family members go in the store and handle. I'd be like, why you talk to them like that? That's a human being at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't got you feel some type of way. And then my nana used to be like, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I used to see my family act certain ways like that and be wondering. Like, I grew up in this energy, and then I would always be like, I ain't gonna be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that shit. Like, I wouldn't treat nobody like that. Especially with my grandfather being like, yo, you treat people how you want to be treated. You know what I'm saying? Like, and he drilling that shit into my head. Like, so it's something I could never shake or get away from. You know what I'm saying? It's something I could never be like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do something else. You know what I'm saying? Like I just couldn't get away from it. It's just that form of reality. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, it is what it is. And then you start seeing people in other parts of the world that are very successful. Like what are you looking for? You're looking for a matching value to who you are, and if that can be successful. Like if something, a version of you and characteristic traits right out in the world that you can find that is successful and it doesn't change your natural way that divine gave you to be, then this is a way you can follow, right? So it's not to say that you are going to be a follower. We all have role model aspects, but most people create the role model aspect. Not knowing who you are from the start has you looking for other shit. So once you find out who you are, you know what you are, you look to see if it's people in the world that's successful like that. If you don't have somebody actually telling you, divine will guide you to a version of that looks like you. It's not like you ever seen it, but have you had the particular value to comprehend it when you see these things? So here I am, me as experienced in this value, have seen different levels, conversated with different people, and be like, wow, this how you live every day. And they like, yeah, this is it's been great. Different versions, almost like different sizes of Lego blocks. You know what I'm saying? Some of the big soft blocks, but they still stick together, and then the smaller ones that work more intricate, but they the same. Like it's I was would meet different people like this, like different versions of myself. And I'm like, wow, so you've been like this forever? Like this, you like stuff like this? And you always been like, yeah, I just kept the divine first, and no matter what I did, it came into fruition. And I was like, wow, this is in my younger days. You know what I'm saying? This is in my younger days. And I'll be like, wow, this is a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? And I would give a lot of credit, I would give a lot of respect to people who would solidify things in their life that I might have been lacking on, right? And I would be real about that by being vulnerable. I'll be like, you know what? That's something that I always wanted to do. And I'm not gonna put blame on the reason why it's not happening, but it's just something that didn't happen for me the way it should have happened. And I'm saddened by that because you got this going on. Like I'll give the praise. I always give the flowers, right? I always walked with this this level of pride for people in their right choices, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And ain't nobody that don't know me, who truly know me, not gonna say they ain't never heard no smoke like that. They be like, nah, that's how G move. You know what I'm saying? It was crazy because my homeboy brought it up. One of my homeboys brought it up to me what yesterday. He was like, nah, all the time, ever since we was younger. You know what I'm saying? Like, and you gotta keep in mind, like I known dude since my teenage years, and I'm in my 40s, so that's like a lifetime for most people. You know what I'm saying? So being a person that's been a beacon of particular light for certain people who just wanted to do the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? You said the right thing to them at the right time. That shit matters. You don't say the right shit to people just because you want to be right or you want to be the one that look right. You say the right thing to people because you care about them at that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because you really see that that's needed. You ain't garnering no nothing. All praise due to the Most High. Facts. That's why you get that. That's why you get that little piece of knowledge at the moment. It come in for that reason. Like, damn, I got that jewel just in time. And it was like so many conversations I done had over the years. And I'm not talking about five or six, I'm talking about hundreds of thousands. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of like 2 hour bills that I done had with people. And they be like, yo, we had a conversation. That shit literally changed my life. You know what I'm saying? I could take you back to MySpace, you know what I'm saying? And Black Planet, when I used to build with dudes in the inbox and I had certain particular knowledges I was dealing with and it changed their life and they went in a whole nother direction. And that was all given by divine. And I would always give praise due to the Most High. This ain't nothing new for me. This is forever. It's gonna always be like that. I can't say, people who don't comprehend this don't walk around with a chip on their shoulder or life hasn't affected them in a certain way to where they can't comprehend this value. But it's still a cop out to not try because you experience one side already so much. Why would you want to keep backstroking in the same bullshit? You know what I'm saying? Like that right there is just it's just like it's like a fail safe to the actual attitude of the situation. Like most people gonna say, you know what, I went through. All right, so what? How long ago was that shit? You still hold. I mean, I don't see you in a straitjacket or taking pills or going to these people talking about you depressed forever. Like I don't see that. I just see you using that as a reference when a real situation comes up when you were supposed to handle it different. So now that's the only excuse you got for a particular value. Now you selling out the game right now. You ain't slick to nobody. Like at the end of the day, how do you use particular painful moments only when it's needed for a painful response? Like people make me sick with the shit. I'm like, yo, you just don't want to stand on the truth of what you did. You just don't want to face your truth. You just don't want to say, you know what? This is what it is. You just don't want to say, you know what? I'm gonna take responsibility for my shit. Everybody gangster until it's time for you to take responsibility for your shit. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't be understanding this. I be like, yo, I don't even care. I ain't got no time for it because I already know the breath of this air. I know the breath of this air. I can smell it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, yo, at the end of the day, if it's gonna happen, it's gonna work. That's just what it's gonna be. Everything is gonna work. It don't go left. It don't take long. It don't do this. It don't do that. None of that shit works out in reality when shit goes. Divine makes it happen. Bing, 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 like that. If divine don't want to happen, you know what you get? Blockages. You get stoppages. You get hells up and shit like that because divine to say, you know what? I don't want nobody taking the glory from me. I don't want them taking glory from me. If you working in the name of the Most High, the divine will have you working for Him. This how this whole thing goes. You can tell by fruition when fruition comes into motion for you. Fruition when that starts to happen for you, things start to move. It's because everything that's connected to you is divinely in that same aspect. If you ain't about that divine work truly in your soul, you ain't gonna be doing nothing divine. You're gonna be talking like you that way, but divine know your heart. Divine know your heart in and out. What you gonna force somebody to believe that you divine by the way everything appears on the outside? That's not reality. It's your actions that speak to these values. I mean, like man, times I done came up and I've been a glass of water to people, and I still get a praise to the Most High right at that moment. Finding things that people lost. I mean, on a real level, like I done been in so many situations, yo, and I be like, and they be like, yo, I'm so glad you came. I'm so happy you. I'm like, nah, it wasn't me. It was the Most High. The Most High made me be able to see this right here where you couldn't see it. And every single time, yo, divine, divine, everything, all praise due to the Most High. And I stand on that. I don't be faltering on that later or whatever. Even if I do make a mistake, you know what I do? I pray about it and I give praise due. My cells ring off, yo. My cells ring off. The way I look at it, everybody always jumping the gun. even though the process speaks to the understanding. I'm about to go into the science aspect. Now, just cross reference Kalai Amin Ra. You know what I'm saying? Kalai Mayab Amin Ra. We absorb in neuromelanin. Somewhere in my subconscious, it told me that over a period of time, the absorbance of neuromelanin will allow certain things to take place, but that's going to take time to fill up. And while you're filling it up, you're also using small amounts of it. So it'll be imperative to be in a certain understanding of how you absorb this energy, right? So that cross referenced another understanding. So that didn't mean that I was fully a divine being. I might have been a divine baby, you know what I'm saying? I might have been a divine baby, you know what I'm saying, capable of doing some things, not understanding that this natural energy itself is just going to be doing certain things. And for other people, the deep seated thought patterns and frequencies that already run through the DNA pattern would have to be untwined. And this would have to be inlaid in your actions and choice. So you understanding what you're fighting is the things that aggress you, the things that you separate yourself from the world for. Like when you separate yourself from the world and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. This is what I'm gonna do. This is how I'm gonna move. I'm fighting for, like, these things are things you're supposed to fight against. You know what I'm saying? So therefore, you can solidify a futurious growth for the values that divine allow you to create under the light. So when we give in to some of these temptations of the world, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna just say it like that. When we give in to some of these worldly connections of propaganda. Hold on. Hello. I'm fine. Who's this? With what? Who are you again? So, oh no, I spoke to somebody earlier. I'm fine. Don't worry. I spoke to someone earlier. No, I said I already spoke to somebody earlier. I'm fine. Retard, yo. You tell somebody you already spoke to somebody and they sitting there like, well, I understand, sir. This is what I'm going to do for you. Like, what part of that didn't you understand? Like, that was that was a simple piece of understanding for somebody to think about real quick. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit's fucking stupid. But yeah. Anyway, so the value of life is always going to be based against the what the world majority promotes. So the world promotes everything into temptation. That's the worldly system of things. And Divine said, I'm not of this world. You know Divine is not of this world because neuromelanin, neural energy comes from out of this world. It has to be filtered to send down here so you can absorb it. You know what I'm saying? So therefore you will fill up these cells and become a different being. This is the actual situation that's taking place, and they knew this back through times on times in because these situations actually happened so many different times. But now that they were able to conglomerate or congest your minds in the valleys of where this energy, these ley line energies, will be most most intensified to allow things to grow at its or change at its greatest value. Now you don't see it actually taking place. So now they got to keep propaganda. They got to keep things going on, and then everybody else don't know the history, so they following suit, thinking as long as I hold on to this, everything gonna be all right. Y'all don't even know the stories because y'all can't listen to the stories clearly. Like it tells it verbatim. You just gotta listen. I be like, yo, wow. So they talking about this. So they had to rechange this to make that this because that would explain this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's so many different values where you can understand the overstand, right? And this is the mind's eye. This is where divine gives you the clarity to start understanding things on a different retrospect. You know what I'm saying? And when you get that understanding, then you grow. But divine is guiding you through these particular things. You know what I'm saying? Try to be an individual who fights away from the normal way of thinking and watch what you get out of that. You know what I'm saying? Don't respond to a lot of things that your flesh asks you to respond to. I'm not telling you not to be a part. I'm telling you not to respond to things that your flesh pushes you to respond to. Try to find a higher aspect of conjunction. And that right there will also describe the level of energy that you use most, your fleshly energy or your spiritual energy. The easier way for you to actually, if you can go in between the two, it shows that you use one or the other more often. You know what I'm saying? Like these are practices that's simple for people to do just to gain the right direction when you moving through life. Like I ain't gonna keep repeating this shit, but Devon said keep repeating it. All right, you already know the vibes. I ain't gonna hold you, man. I'm gonna get up out of here. I'll be back at y'all later on, man. Naga.